Welcome, dear participants. Meeting will be started in next 2 minutes. Please share this YouTube link in your class groups as well as in your college groups and ask them to join. We're going to start programming next 2 minutes. Today, we are going to see some important concepts like functions. Also, we are going to see some practical applications of computer vision. Waiting for you all. Please share the link in your class groups and ask them to join. Welcome all participants. Meeting will be started in next few minutes. Please invite your friends to this program. You can share this YouTube link in your class groups and ask them to join. Today we are going to see computer vision projects and functions and few more concepts related to Python. Saidi, shall we start?
Yeah, yes, sir, we can. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the day 4 of this bootcamp. The responses which we got for the past 3 days were really great, and the active participants has been noticed through the quiz which has been given yesterday. Today, we are going to see few more important topics. Now, handing over to Mr. Vishnath from Indian Servers. Thank you.
Not directly to Vishwanath. Initially, I'll handle, then I'll hand it to Vishwanath.
Yeah,
Yep.
okay.
Yeah, hi all participants. Myself, Sai Satish, CEO of Indian Servers. Very happy to see your enthusiastic participation. So, what we are going to see today, before knowing that topic, yesterday I said about pilot GitHub, right? Actually, it's not pilot. You're the pilot. That application is Copilot. What is this Copilot? Let me show that screen for you. It is going to hijack the future programmers, and it is going to help a lot many programmers too. Yep. Hold on. Yep. See here, this is one of the concepts of AI. You just enter something in the comment, what kind of output you're looking for. This AI program will generate the program for you. One of the fantastic things. Most of the AI developers are replacing testers, designers. Do you heard about one particular concept from Microsoft? If you draw something on the paper, and if you show to that particular program, that program will generate HTML pages for you. Have you heard about it? Microsoft is having such type of AI program. And this is complete code. It's about to release, okay? Technical preview is available. GitHub Copilot. So it's going to replace many programmers and it's going to help many other programmers too. Just have a look over it. And many things I want to share with you. See, tomorrow we are going to see one natural language processing related AI based application. You just give something in natural English, it's going to generate SQL commands for you. Most of the students invest almost many months together to learn SQL, right? MySQL or MySQL, whatever it is. But if you just mention something in English, it's going to generate SQL statements for you. Tomorrow we'll see that program. Today, I bought a couple of my interns who are working at my company to show OpenCV projects, OpenCV, computer vision. Not just learning while loop or for loop is not enough. Okay, if you just learn some basics of Python is not enough. You have to apply those concepts in real world. So last month also IPL there, right? Probably when is the next date for IPL? In fact, I don't know. I rarely watch TV. I mean, cricket. I regularly watch TV, but I rarely watch cricket. But there is one concept in cricket. Most of us, everyone knows about it. That's called third umpire. If the human cannot identify whether that particular shot was out or not, this umpire will give decision to the third umpire. They'll see the video and they'll take the decision whether that particular batsman is out or not, right? One of our guys, one of our interns has developed one specific program to identify whether it's a run out or not. Okay, just see it. It's a 2-minute session for him. Sharon and Vishnu, both are available here. They're going to show 2 projects for 2 to 3 minutes. Then we'll go ahead and discuss about the functions. So over to Sharon. You can start sharing your screen and just show that. Vishnu or Sharon, who is going to show first? You can unmute yourself.
Sir, I'll show first.
Okay, Vishnu. Yes, please go ahead and start the program. 2 to
Sure,
5 minutes for you. Please show your output of the program and important modules what you have used.
yes, sir. Good evening, everyone. This is me, Vishnu Kumar, an intern of Indian Servo, and this is my project, which detects the run out of the batsman. So I'm going to run only my output and explain only my output. So we can see here, it shows select the stump. No, now I'm going to select the stump. I have selected the stump. Now it shows select the crease. So this is the crease. I'm going to select that. Now when you press enter, the video will go on rolling, and we can see that the crease is detected, and this is the image. And here we can see that the stump is detected when the ball hits the stump, and it shows out. Once again, I'm going to play that. So now we can see clear the status of the wicket out, because the ball hits the stump. Ball reaches the stump first, so it shows out. And it also shows that when the stump hits, bat does not reach near the crease. So the bat does not reach near the crease. Now I'm going to show another example which is not out. So I'm going to select the stump. I have selected the stump. I'm going to select the crease. So status of the wicket. Here the bat is detected. Bat going near the crease. Now it shows not out. Bat reaches the crease first. And now here we can see that the keeper going to hit the stump. So hitting the stump, it is detected, and it shows not out because the bat reaches the stump, sorry, crease first. And here we can see that when the stump hits crease 272 and the bat 236, which is less than crease, we can analyze this using normal XY graph. So that's all. So that's all, sir.
Yeah, can you show the code once?
Sure, sir. So this is the code. I have used these libraries, and I'm getting the video, capturing video, and here it shows to process status of the wicket. It is something text in the frame, and this is the first frame, process frame. So here it is going to draw the lines over the crease. So this coding. Next, finding the counters for bat. For the when the bat motion of the bat is detected using this, and here for the stump, motion of stump is detected using this. I have separate. See, we can see here finding contours. This is the function, and tracking object motion detection using this, and this is the grease lines over the grease are drawn using this, and this shows this first I have select the stump and the grease, so this helps to select the stump and the grease. So that's all.
Yeah,
So
very
these
good,
are the
Vishnu.
concept I have used here.
Very good, Vishnu. This is one of the applications where you can work on computer vision project. Okay, so let's appreciate this guy. Vishnu, which year you're studying right now? Second year?
So I'm going third year, sir, now.
Going to
Started
third year.
third year, sir.
Okay, good. See, my dear friends who are students,
Yes,
especially.
from tomorrow I'm third year student.
Okay, so students, those who are watching this video, it's very, very important to apply the knowledge what you're learning. Just seeing things are not enough. Applied knowledge is very, very important. Okay, so let's appreciate this guy. Which college are you, Vishnu?
It's a government college of technology from Coimbatore.
Okay, very good, Vishnu.
This is Tamil
And
Nadu.
yeah, this is one of the topmost projects.
Thank you.
Recently, we have organized one contest at our company. Around 200 plus participant groups are there. Around 400 around participants are there. 200 teams are there. And this is one of the topmost projects. It is in top 20 projects. And we are going to see one more project related to computer CV. Computer vision. Then we are going to start today's session. Okay. So Sharon, over to you. Next 2 to 3 minutes. You can explain your computer vision project.
Yes, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Sharon. Please continue.
Hello, all. This is Sharon Kumar. I am intern in Indian servers. I have done an OpenCV project called Virtual Paint. In this project, I want to draw my imagination by just waving my finger in the air. I built a virtual paint which can draw anything on the air by just capturing the motion of my finger with camera. Here, the tip of the finger is used as a marker. I am used computer vision techniques to build the project. Okay, I will show my output of my code first. Then I will just go to the how does the program works. I will just say. Yeah. You can just see that when my hands are open, that means my hands are, when all the fingers are raised, then it shows that it is in the selection. If my 4 fingers alone raised, then it is in the drawing mode. From that I can draw anything. So when my hands open, I can select the colors. So like blue, I can just select the colors. Green. So yeah. So green, I can just draw the color. And this was my project. Yeah. What I'm used. I used the requirement that necessary modules called MediaPipe, NumPy, and OpenCV. I just imported the necessary library. With this library, I used hand tracking module. Then I converted my frame and converted the frame to RGB color space. Generally, our frames are BGA color space. I just converted into RGB color space because this MediaPipe library only accepts the RGB color space. Then I prepared the main frame and put the respective ink button in it. Then I detect my fingers. Then I will detect my finger. Only my index finger is shown. Then it is in the drawing mode. Else it is in the selection mode. You can just see that. If only my index finger is shown, then it is in the drawing mode. If else it is in the selection mode. All my fingers is raised or shown. It is in the selection mode. Else it is in the drawing mode. Okay. Then I did from the detected 4 finger, I will find the position of the fingers, and I store this. Then I store that position in the array. With this help of array, I will just draw the points that is stored in the array in the frames at the canvas. Thank you, Sai Satish sir, for giving this wonderful opportunity.
Yeah,
Thank you,
very
sir.
good, Sharon. This project is also in top 20 list. So actually, we are providing around 5,000 rupees for the first person. It's a top for the first top project. Okay, let's do one thing. I'll share all the links. You just let me know which is the best project. Probably on the last day, day 8, we'll announce the first winner. Total 2 persons we are going to select. For the first best project, 5,000 rupees. For the second best project, 3,000 rupees is the cash prize. As of now, we have selected only top 20 projects. Yet to select first and second. Probably we'll use this platform, our bootcamp program, to announce the first and second winner. Even you can select. I'll share the links to you. Probably tomorrow or tonight, I'll share all the links to you. You just let me know which are the best among those top 20. Okay. Yep. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you very much. Which year are you, Sharon?
Now going to third year, sir.
Okay. Which college? Where are you from?
Tech, sir.
Welltech, Multitech, or
Tech, High Tech, sir. It's from Chennai.
Welltech, High Tech. Okay, Chennai. Very
Yes,
good.
sir.
So we are going to start today's program related to Python. Functions, one of the most important concepts in any programming language. To do the repeated tasks, we use functions. So we have our one of the fantastic person, Mr. Vishwanath, with us. Vishwanath, over to you.
Okay, sir. Thank you. So I hope you can clearly hear me.
Yes, your voice is audible.
Okay, so I'll share my screen. So hello all and welcome back. So again, my name is Vishwanath Hemant. I'm one of the machine learning team leaders at Indian Servers. So today's session is basically, revolving around functions. So why, a whole day for functions is, the power these functions possess. Let me explain you that. Really the power of the functions is kind of overwhelming. Okay. So by the end of this session, I promise that you will know what are functions, how do they work, and how can you create and use them. Okay. So functions are basically like, your very own personalized code blocks. Okay. So to be like, in very simple terms, that. Okay. So what these functions are basically, when you're programming, you often encounter situations where you have to use a part of your code like quite a number of times. Okay. So let's say you wanted to like build a big program or an app or something which can calculate, which is let's say useful for school students to calculate different volumes and areas. Okay. General school problems like required to calculate the volumes and areas, right? Whatever they are, like prisms, cuboids, cylinders, etc., etc. So you wanted to build such kind of an app. So in that case, you might have to repeat some of your code. Like suppose if you are like calculating the area of a rectangle, okay, you'd use one formula. But same time, when you're calculating the area of triangle, you will use some part of that code only. Like if rectangle's area is b times h, triangle's area is half of that, right? Okay, there are sometimes when you have to repeat the code. Okay, functions, that's exactly where functions come in. They help you to efficiently group your code and reuse your code, okay, without having to repeat yourself like over and over and over again. Okay, so enough of the introduction. Let's get into like one small story, like a small example. Let's say there is a bank. Okay, so this bank, of course banks typically have ATMs, right? Just like that, this bank also has an ATM. Okay, so what these people have done is, let's say they've hired you. Okay, let's say you are a software developer or something, or I mean you wanted to become, let's just assume that you have become, and they have hired you to make them a program so that their ATM machines work. Okay, they wanted you to develop code for their ATM machines to work perfectly. Okay, I mean we all know what these ATM machines do. Like, they'll take, first when you get into the ATM. Okay, there'll be a little greeting like, hello, please insert your card. Okay, things like that will be there. Okay, and they'll ask you for like, there'll be like 4 to 5 different options, like cash withdrawal, cash deposit. Now for now, just let's just assume that this is a simple ATM, like only balance checking and cash withdrawal is there. Okay, so what are the steps involved here? Like, the sequence of operations. First, you have to insert your card. Okay, it'll read and verify if it's a valid card or not, if it's within the expiry date or not, things like that. It'll do that. And then, if you're withdrawing your money, it should again ask for your money. I mean, how much money you want, and it should check again with the bank server whether that you have that much money or not. Okay, pretty basic stuff, like, all this. So how would you solve this problem? Think about it once. So until now, you've seen like loops, if statements, and different data structures like lists and tuples, dictionaries, etc. So the first idea that might come to your mind would be to use, of course, the conditional statements, right? So if the person had clicked this button, then do this sort of operations. Like, let's say if you have mapped a certain button for cash withdrawal. Okay, when the person clicks this button, just a simple if statement. If this button is clicked, this particular button is clicked, then execute this operation, like, read the card and check with the server. So else if the person clicked the other button, which is, let's say, balance inquiry, then again you have to repeat that particular code. Okay, so, well, you would do that, but then there is a problem here. Like, once, these conditional statements are like, they check only once, right? Okay, so what happens is, once a customer enters and completes his or her transaction, the program has come to an end, and subsequently what you have to do is you need to restart the code again, which basically means you have to reboot the whole ATM machine again. No, so this seems like a little bit of problem. Like, for each transaction, people have to wait for 5 to 10 minutes, like, because typically that's what I believe ATM machines take to reboot or boot up. So this is kind of problematic. So you'll have another idea. You might have another idea, since you have learned about loops. Why not just keep these two statements in a certain loop? Okay, we'll just keep it in infinite while loop. Okay, but we also know that, like, infinite while loops are not very healthy for your computer. Okay, so the optimum solution here would be to use functions. Not just in this scenario, there are like very many different scenarios where you can use functions. Okay, so what are these functions again? These are blocks of code. Okay, organized blocks of code. They are aimed at a particular task. You can define these functions once, okay, you can specify what a function does. Function, if the name itself suggests that it performs a function. Okay, now these blocks of code do some functions. Okay, do some particular tasks. Okay, you can define these ones, and you can call them over and over and over again without having to repeat all the code. Okay, so, and also there is another feature for this functions. These functions may or may not take and give, input and output. Okay, so these are not exactly called input and output in the terminology of programming. There is another terminology which I'll explain. So enough of this. Now some people would be thinking now, like, enough of this, theory, man. Let's get into coding. Okay, please don't scold me for too much theory. We'll go into coding. So how do we define a function? So if you can, right now, please open up your IPython notebooks or Google Colab. You can even type it parallelly. Okay.
So Vishwanath, many are seeing from around 70+% is seeing from mobile phone. They have to split
Okay.
the screen. If they split the screen, keyboard is going to occupy that stuff. It's better let them see as it is. Okay. Later
Okay.
they'll practice. And you have to zoom this web page. Control plus for 4 times.
Is this
One
okay,
more
sir?
time. One more time.
Okay.
Somewhat okay. Because YouTube will not allow us to zoom the screen.
Yes.
Yeah, please
I
continue.
hope it's okay now. Okay.
Somewhat okay.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, it's not a problem if you cannot type it parallelly, but if you cannot, do it parallelly, please put some concentration and you will get it. Okay. So how do we define these functions? Okay. So notice that I'm using the term called define. Okay. I'm not saying write a function or create a function. Okay. So this is, some programmer terminology, which sometimes may not makes perfect sense, but that's just how it is with every single programming language, and we just have to live by that. Okay, right. Let's define a function. So how to define a function in Python? It is very easy. You just have to use the keyword def. I hope you know what a keyword is. Keyword is basically a reserved word which has a particular meaning. So whenever Python interpreter sees this word def, okay, it automatically understands that, okay, so my programmer is trying to define a particular function, okay, to do something. Okay, so let's just define a function. Just like variables, functions also should possess names. Okay, so that you can identify them uniquely and execute them at your will. So let's take one name. Let's take Indian servers. Okay, so I'm using standard Python terminology in the sense, naming conventions. Okay, in Python, the general convention is that functions should start with a small letter. I'm not saying it's a rule. I'm just saying it has been like that. It's a convention. It doesn't matter even if you don't follow also. Okay. Okay, then we'll just put a colon. Just like if statements or loops, this also has to be indented. Okay, everything that's a part of the function has to be indented with one tab. Okay, or whatever spaces that you have. So here is our function. Okay, sorry, I forgot one thing. Every function should contain a pair of parentheses. Okay, in the last. So this is very important. So let's define a function. For now, let's just make our function to do nothing. Okay, to make our function to do nothing, we can't just leave it like that. It will raise an error. So what we can do is we can use the keyword pass. Okay, so we can use the keyword pass. So just like in conditional statements also, we can use that keyword. And 1 second. Yeah, so let's see what's in our function. If you print this one, you can see that this function, functions are not like variables. If you want to see something inside a variable, you would just keep it in a print statement. Okay, you'll take that variable and just keep it in a print statement, and it'll show what's in that variable. But functions do not work that way. Instead, what's happening here is it's just showing that function Indian servers at some random number. So this random number is is basically this location. Okay, is the location inside the RAM where this function is stored. Okay, so that's not how we use our functions. So to use our function, remember one thing: we don't say that we are using a function or we are executing a function. In programming terminology, we say that we are calling a function. Okay, so this is the syntax to call a function. Just use the function name and type a pair of parentheses. Okay, these are not brackets also, these are parentheses in programming terminology. Okay, I'm just using those words so that you get more familiarized with that. So one thing, guys, even if you don't 100% understand what's going on here, do not worry at all. So even if you don't understand, like, even if you understand like 10 to 20% of it, the next time you browse the internet for a particular, topic or something, so if you read that, you'll remember all this and you'll understand it very clearly. Okay. So it is important that you concentrate and, listen. Okay. So this is how we call our function, and let's execute that. It did nothing, just like we told. So this is not very useful. Actually, I want to show you something also. So if you want to know what are there in your code, there is this function called dir. Okay, if you call it, you can see what all fields in the sense variables and functions are there. So these are the different functions that are inside your Python code. So one second, you can see that Indian servers is also there. So this is a function here. So if you just create one variable here, let's say x equals 10, and then run it again. So if you see dir, you can see that x is also mentioned here. So if you run dir, you can see what all functions variables are there in your program currently. Okay, so I'm telling you this because this would be, I feel like this would be helpful in the future when you're dealing with libraries and all. So libraries we'll see later in the session possibly, or some other session. Okay, so let's define another function which actually does something. So let me clear this one. Maybe not clear that one. I'll just go into another one. So let's define another function. For this time, we'll use a function which actually returns something. Okay, so return in the sense this function gives us some output. Okay, so the terminology for output from functions is return. Okay, functions take input and return values. Okay, so let's define greet. Okay, this is a function which gives us greeting, like hi, good morning or something. Let's define that. To return an output, okay, we simply have to use the keyword return. It is as simple as it is. Okay, so to define a function, use the keyword def. To return an output, use the keyword return. So let's return something. Hi, Indian servers. Okay, so now this function is defined. Again, we'll have to call it. Okay, to execute the function. So this right now, this function call will be equalized with, replaced, to be precise, replaced with this returned value. Okay, to see our returned value, we'll just have to print it. Okay, right now what's happening here is, so once we run this statement, so we are telling that to print whatever is in there in this parenthesis. Okay, so what is in there? The greet function call is there. So once this greet function call, greet function is called, the execution will go to here, and this will get executed, and this particular string will be returned. So basically what it means is, in place of this function call, this string will be replaced. Okay, just think that virtually it's happening like that. So now if we execute this one, you can see we have the output. Okay, so yeah, now you've seen how to create a function, to be more precise, how to define a function and how to return values from a function. Okay, now let's see how to make functions take input. Okay, so if you have guessed by now, we don't call it input. Okay, so functions don't take input. What they do is, they take, okay, 1 second, let me define one. So let's define a function which calculates the volume of a sphere. Okay, volume of a sphere. So let's define a function such that when we give it a particular number, okay, which is the radius of a sphere, it will calculate volume for us and give it to us. Okay, so to give input to a function, we type some variables inside this parentheses. Okay, let's say r. So let's use r for now. So what is this r? This r is called parameters for this function. Okay, so this is not input, this is called parameters. So when you define in a function like this, okay, with some variables in between, so these functions take that variables as input. So what should this function return? I believe it's 4/3 times pi. So for pi, I'm just going to replace 3.14. No, it's not pi r cube. Okay, I'm actually dumb. I forgot volume of a sphere. Let me Google that. Yeah, it's 4/3 pi r cube only. I'm sorry, guys. So we'll return that 4/3 times 3.14 times r to the power of 3. Okay, so now we defined a function which takes an input and gives us some output. Okay, let's define that, and let's call our function and print what it returns. Okay, volume underscore sphere. Let's give one input, let's say 10 centimeters or whatever, 10 units. So you can see that we got output. Okay, again, I want to tell you something. There are two different types of parameters. Okay, actually before that, so right now I'm calling these as parameters. Okay, r is a parameter for this function. Okay, but when we are actually calling the function, this is not called a parameter, this is called an argument. Okay, so I know that the name sounds kind of confusing, but this is actually the argument, the exact English word. So this is called an argument. 10 is an argument which will be assigned to r, which is the parameter for this function. Okay, don't get too confused, just go with the flow. So r is the parameter and 10 is the argument. So there are two different kinds of parameters / arguments for a function. They are called keyword arguments and required arguments. Okay, so since there is no limit of how many how many arguments or parameters you can have, right now I have one parameter here, r. So you can have r, e, f, d, etc., etc. Like you can have as many inputs or parameters as you want. So that can get a little confusing, and sometimes we might miss some arguments. For that, we have something called keyword arguments and required arguments. So you can basically do this, like you can assign a value here. Let me take another function. This one actually calculates volume cuboid, which takes length, breadth, and height. Okay, so what does this return? It returns L times B times H. So you can give keyword arguments. They are like this. So you can basically assign a value here. Let's say for default 0 and 0. So keyword arguments are also called as default arguments. So what this basically means is when you're calling the function, see, when we are calling volume underscore sphere, it is mandatory that we should enter a value here. Okay, we should enter some kind of value here. What happens if we don't enter a value here? So if we don't enter a value here, we'll get an error, type error. Okay, it is missing one required positional argument. Okay, so there are different kinds of names, guys. Required arguments, non-default arguments, positional arguments. Okay, they are the same thing. So it's saying that volume underscore sphere is missing one position argument. So in case of this cuboid right now, since I gave it, let me run this one first. Since I gave it default values, even if I don't enter any values, it will take these default values as L, B, and H and calculate this, expression, evaluate this expression, and return me this. So if I run this, I'll have 0 because it by default took 3 zeros and they multiplied those 3 zeros and returned that value. Okay. So another thing is you can have multiple combinations of this combinations with the keyword arguments and required arguments. So for example, you can just remove L. I mean, you can keep length as a required argument and breadth and height. Let's take some unit value, which is 1. Okay, you can keep length as required and breadth and height as some default value. Okay, now what happens is you can give it like this. Okay, volume of cuboid 1. So if we run this L will take the 1 value, B and H will take the default values. Okay, so if we keep all of them as required arguments, we should give all the 3 values. So the order these are here will be taken by this order. Okay, so if there are 3 parameters, you should give exactly 3 arguments. Okay, not more, not less. Okay, so the order will be maintained. So first value will be assigned to first variable, second value to second variable, and so on. So you can have you can also do like this. Like let's say if you want to enter breadth first and then height and then length, you can do like this. Okay, you can just type out the parameter name and then assign it a value like this. Let's say I wanted breadth to be 3 and height to be 4 and then length to be 5. Okay, if we do it like this, we don't have to maintain order. So if we run it, we get the correct value. Yeah. Another important thing is when you are assigning default values, always the default value should come last. Okay, you can do like this: L equal to 0, B comma H. You can do like this. Okay, if we try to define it, we should get an error. So what is it error? It's a syntax error. So non-default argument follows default argument. Okay, so it should not happen like that. Always the non-default arguments should come first. So if we put it like this, now we have a choice. Like we can enter when we're calling the function, we can enter 2 values or 3 values. If we enter 2 comma 3, it's okay. And if we enter 2 comma 3 comma like 7, let's say, it's okay. Okay, let me print that. Let me print that. We get the 2 answers. So I think that gives you a little idea about how functions work. Okay, how to take input, give inputs or pass arguments to functions, and how to return values from functions. Now I want to show you something called recursion. So what is this recursion? So recursion is something that we can do with the help of functions. Okay, with the power of functions. So let's say, what does this recursion do is it takes complex problems. Okay, it will divide problems into small sub problems and solve it at the base level and then integrate into one. Okay, so I think you all heard the story of a king giving a bunch of sticks to his prince. Like he asked him to break it all at once. He was unable to break it. But when he gave it one by one, easily he could break it. Like he could complete all the bunch of sticks. Just like that, there is this divide and conquer kind of strategy when we are solving problems with the help of programming. Okay, recursion will help you in that. So how does this recursion work? So recursion, basic definition, guys. You can just pinpoint, like exactly remember this. Recursion is basically when a function calls itself. Okay, recursion is what happens when a function calls itself. So let me show you an example for that. Let's say we are going to create a function to find factorial of a number. Okay, so factorial, right? So for 3, factorial is 3 times 2 times 1. So for any number, its factorial is multiply its predecessor until 1. So let's define a function for that. It takes one positional argument, which is n, which is the number that we are going to find the factorial for. So what you can do here is you can just put it like this, for I in range n comma 1 comma -1, and calculate it like that. So we're not going to do it like that. We're going to do it with the help of recursion. So let me type that for you. If n equals 1, will return 1, else n times fact of n minus 1. Okay, so what does this function do is, so if the entered number is 1, we can just directly print it that the factorial of 1 is 1. Okay, so else if not that, so what it basically means is, so what is the factorial of 5? You can say it's 5 times 4 times 3 and so on. But if you observe it carefully, 5 factorial is basically 5 times 4 factorial. Okay, now what we done here is we just broken the big problem into small problem. Okay, so we converted 5 factorial into 5 times 4 factorial. We just shortened the problem. So like this we did it. Now let's actually call with a number. Let's take 5 only. Sorry, I didn't return. Yeah, sorry, that's my bad. Return this whole value, n times fact of n minus 1. So let me run that again. Yeah, so we get the 120 here. So how this happens is, so when 5 comes here, so 5 times fact of 4. Okay, and fact of 4 is replaced by 4 times fact of 3, and so on until 1. Okay, and all of them get multiplied, and we get the answer 5. Okay, so let's solve another problem also. There is this famous problem called Fibonacci. I think many of you even know this, people from computer background. Fibonacci series. So what is this Fibonacci series? So this is basically a series of numbers which start with 1, 1. Some people say it starts with 0, 1, but it doesn't matter with what you're starting. So 1, 1. So every subsequent number is basically a sum of the previous 2 numbers. Okay, right here we have 1, 1. The third number will be 1 plus 1, that is 2. And the fourth number will be second number and third number addition, which is 3. Fifth number is 4 plus 3, like, which means 2 plus 3, 5, 8. 3 plus 5 is 8, and 5 plus 8 is I believe 13, and so on, like that. So how do we solve this problem with the help of recursion? Let's define one function for that. Let's take what we're going to do is we're going to find the nth term in the Fibonacci series. Okay. So if the n is less than or equal to 2, okay, if you're going to ask for the first position, I mean first number or second number, it is basically 1 only, right? So if we're going to do that, we're just going to return 1, else we're going to return Fibonacci of n minus 1 plus Fibonacci of n minus 2. We're going to return this whole value. Okay. So just now, just like that, we solved it using recursion. Let's actually print the values here. So let's not use while. For I in range of 10, we'll call the, let's actually print from 1 to 11, which gives us from 1 to 10, because the range function doesn't return the last value. So what we're going to do is we'll print the Fibonacci of that particular number. Let's run that. You can see that we got the exact series here. 1, 1, 1 plus 1 is 2, 1 plus 2 is 3, 2 plus 3 is 5, and so on. So there is also a little problem here. Okay. For 10 values, it gave us correctly. What if we gave it, let's say 100 values? Okay. What if we gave it maybe 1000 values? Let's test for 100 values right now. You can see that, let me actually stop that, and let's actually print both I and that particular number, that particular Fibonacci number. So we get here, one is for first one is 1, second one is 1, okay, and so on. So around 34, 35, what is happening here is it it got really slowed down. Okay, right now you can see right now I'm connected to a Google server which has a 12 GB RAM and 108 GB storage, but still it struggles to find the Fibonacci sequence of 38. Okay, so God knows how much time it will take until it reaches 40, 100. So what if we gave it 1000? Let me stop that. Okay, it's not stopping. Let me restart the runtime. Okay. So even the server kind of crashed right there. Let me just run everything from the start. Yeah, until here. And let's not run this one. So what is happening here is, just like I told in the previous example, when we are computing the factorial, how do we calculate compute the factorial of 5? We calculate it by multiplying 5 with 4 factorial. So whenever you're calling 5 factorial, you're implicitly calling 4 factorial, 3, 2, and 1 factorial. Okay, so for 5 you have 5 different function calls. Okay, in case of Fibonacci, when you are calling the 5th one, you're implicitly calling. So what is Fibonacci of 5? It is Fibonacci of 4 plus Fibonacci of 3. And then what is 4, which is 3 plus 2, and right here 3, it is 2 plus 1. So it just expands like in a very logarithmic or exponential way, not logarithmic, but it increases in exponential way. So to stop that, there is a what should I say, a method called memoization, okay, or caching. So what is this memoization / caching? I thought to tell it to you because it's kind of useful and cool. So this memoization caching is a little complex to understand if you're not from a computer background, but it's not impossible. Okay, I'll tell you what caching is. Caching is basically temporarily storing certain values, in a certain place. If you have seen in real life also, you just open your mobile and you open your mobile browser, or or laptop browser, and navigate it to a particular website. Okay, so let's say that website has some heavy graphics and animations and all. So when you open it, it'll take some time, right? It has to download all the animations, all the graphics and all the images, etc. But when you open the same website for second time, it will not take that much time. So I don't know if you have noticed it or not, but try it once. When you're opening a website with some heavy graphics and animations, okay, some big files and all, with some big images and all, image files and all. So when you're opening that website for the first time and the second time, the time to load the website is significantly reduced. So how does this happen? So it happens through caching only. So your browser temporarily stores that whole website, in a temporary file. Okay. So that is exactly what we are going to implement to solve this, latency while calculating. Okay. So how do we do that? So I think you've learned about dictionaries in the previous session. I hope you know what dictionaries are, right? So let's create one dictionary. Okay, let's call this cache. Some people call it cache. Okay, so it doesn't matter what you call. I call it cache. So let's create one dictionary. Okay, and now let's define the Fibonacci again, but with but with cache. So it takes one value here. So what does this function do? So what we're going to do here is we'll store the returned values temporarily in a variable. Okay, so we'll store Fibonacci of 38, okay, in a particular variable. And okay, when we are calculating Fibonacci of 39, we don't have to call 38, 37, 36, and so on until 1. Okay, we are basically reducing the computation time very significantly, but we are using some storage though. Okay, it doesn't matter. So if n in L dot keys, it's not L, right? It's cache. So if n is in cache, will return cache of that particular number. Okay. But before that, we'll have to, if n less than equal to 2, we'll have to return 1. Sorry. Okay. So if n is in that particular cache, so we'll return that value. Else, we'll first add that. Okay, we'll first calculate the Fibonacci for that particular number and then add it to cache. Okay, so we'll use some variable. Let's say x equals no, not exactly x. Okay. -1 plus, actually it's not Fibonacci cache of n-1 and -2. Okay, we'll take this value and we'll put it into our cache of n is equal to this particular value. Okay, and we'll return that particular value only. So now let's see how much time does it take. So we'll copy this code from above and paste it here. Okay, instead of Fibonacci, we'll call this one. So now let's see how much time it's going to take. So you can see that we instantly got all the 100 values. Okay, so with just with the power of one simple dictionary, okay, with the concept of caching, we reduce the runtime to very much. So previously it took 1 minute until get to 39 only. So let me tell you this number, the time it takes will surely increase exponentially. So how much that one is it is something called a golden ratio. It's not going to increase in the power of 2 or something. It's going to increase in the power of golden ratio. So I think some of you already know what golden ratio is. So this is the golden ratio. It will increase exponentially with 1.618. Okay, so we significantly reduce the runtime with the help of this. So I think that's helpful for you. And there is another thing called LRU cache. So this just makes our function calling and recursion problems easier. So there is this module or library called functools. Okay, so what are libraries? You'll know shortly or in another session. So right now just observe what's happening. So from functools I imported LRU cache, and with this decorator. Okay, again decorators are for another session right now, just observe. So we use this decorator and set the cache size to 1000. So now this particular function works for 1000 values. Okay, so if we copy this code here and paste it here. Okay, let's just give it a little higher. So even if we wanted to print for 1000 values, okay, sorry. Okay, sorry, it's actually cached. So I just changed the cache here. I think I used the wrong letter here. Okay, so even if we were to print until 1000 also, it just gave us instantly the output. Okay, so if we were doing this with normal recursion, it would take I don't know, maybe 1 week or 2 weeks also to run that simple code. So with the power of cache, we actually reduce the time to a bare minimum of 1 second or even a fraction of second. So why I wanted to tell you about this recursion is one of the most important methods or algorithms or strategies. Okay, when we are solving problems with the help of programming. Okay, so that is why I wanted to focus on that one. So Satish sir, do you want me to add anything else?
Yeah, we can add tomorrow. I'll just give some assignments for them.
Okay, sir. Okay.
It's very good, Vishwanath. Very happy to see you again here. Yeah, hi, all participants. Very happy to see your enthusiasm too. Some hundreds of participants are actively listening all the talk. So 2 tips for you. No assignments. It's not assignment. Just explore the concept. Okay. Let me share my screen. Last 2 minutes. Please pay attention. Yep. This is one particular website, PYPI, where you can find various packages of Python. So tomorrow we are going to have one session on packages. Today, just explore some of the packages and various libraries here. Plenty of libraries are there. If you want to perform some operation, that business logic is already built in some library. Just you can use that library. No need to reinvent the wheel. The most of the concepts already coded. The thing what we have to do is just using that particular library. Okay, just explore this particular website. Few minutes back, I told about natural language, natural SQL. Yep, this is naturalsql.com. You can observe a table here, right? So many months you have invested to learn this SQL. Select star from some table name, where something equal to something, and select unique name. But now, because of this AI, just with our natural English, we can send a query. See here, this is the query box. This is a table. Now here, one column is there, country. Now, let me type in normal English. How many countries are there we have to use? But let's use country. How many country, not countries here. Countries are there. Let us see the response. It should be able to understand countries also. I have not tried with countries. Let me try with country. Let us see the response now. This is natural SQL. And another point, yes, select count of star from wines. No, this is not the one. So how many countries, specific, okay, probably I want to list unique countries. My query is wrong. How many unique countries are there? This should be my query. Okay. Yes, let me type this. Let us see the response now. Yep. In the description of this video, we have posted OpenCV links. Now we need your support. Check various links of that one and let me know the best result. Let me know the best project. OpenCV projects are listed in this particular video description. You have to refresh it. Okay. Right now you cannot see. You have to refresh the video. Yes. See here. It is framing the SQL query for us. What is the last date? What is the recent date? You can also use that particular query also. One of the fantastic things. So explore these things. Tomorrow we are going to see packages and many more concepts. And I'll be sharing one important information to you all. We are going to select top 200 participants and we are going to send a hard copy of pocket size Python cheat sheet. Pocket size Python cheat sheet. We are going to send to your house address. It's a physical book. It's not ebook. It's a real book. It's a pocket size book. Okay. It's completely free. Even we are going to bear the postal charges only for top 200 people. We have around 7,000 registered participants from 7 countries. We cannot ship. We don't want to ship to other countries as of now. We'll ship to India. Only within India, we'll ship it. Okay. Thank you very much for all the participants who joined in today's session. Tomorrow, 6 to 7, I'll tell you how to get that book, how we filter the top 200 active participants. Tomorrow, I'll share the details. Okay. So see you tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Thank you very much for joining today's session. See you all.